Hey, everybody, Kevin here with Pursuing Pixels, and welcome back to another edition of Save It for the Cast. And as per usual, I'm guessing you know the drill by now. I'm going to be kicking the ball over to John, Randall, and I for a little video games and video games adjacent chit-chat in just a little bit here. Kind of talk about some of our anticipation for Super Mario Brothers Wonder, dig into a little bit of even like the Mario movie, which Randall, his wife and daughter just watched recently, and just kind of all sorts of like kind of Mario stuff. John's been watching the live-action adaptation of One Piece over on Netflix, so we kind of all over the map for the chit chat coming up in just a little bit here. And then, as per usual, I got to talk about some of the stuff that I've been playing as of late. Although I will say the main game that I've been playing over the past couple of weeks is Super Mario Brothers Wonder, which Randall and I are going to be digging into our first impressions of that next week. I actually just saw the credits roll earlier today, pretty much right before sitting down to record this intro here. So I feel like I'm kind of riding a high for the most part. I've got, various thoughts on the game, but I will say for the most part, I'm having a blast, or had a blast, and definitely intend to go back and kind of comb through the various secrets and whatnot and just various things that I missed and try to come as close to 100%ing the game as possible. I don't know if I'll 100% it, but I definitely hope to play some more multiplayer sessions in the future. But yeah, I'll kind of just leave it at that for now because Randall and I are going to dig into that next week and probably on subsequent episodes as well. But some of the other stuff that I've been playing as of late, I just happened to hop on my Switch the other day and see that they added some more stuff to the Nintendo Switch Online. I feel like a lot of these Save It for the Cast episodes end up just being me like firing up some old retro stuff that I haven't really ever played too much of. And I saw they added some import games once again to the NES selection of games. So I was like, okay, let me dig into some of these. They actually added Devil World, which is kind of a semi-well-known NES game. It's developed by Shigeru Miyamoto, so, of Mario and Zelda fame, so it's kind of like, has a little bit of that, at least in my mind. I'm like, okay, this must be like a classic, and to the best of my knowledge, it never was released in North America, and the box art, it's the Japanese box art and everything like that, so, or the Famicom box art. I fired that up, and I'm actually having a lot of fun with that game. Like, got kind of hooked on it. It's, for lack of a better, comparison, it's pretty much like a Pac-Man style game, almost like a top-down style, roaming around and collecting all the pellets. But kind of the main difference is that you're in this like little demon world. You almost look like a Bubble Bobble style character, and you have to grab these like crucifixes or crosses or whatever. And then once you have those in your hand, you can kind of blast like a fire blast and then kill the various ghosts or enemies. Although you can't kill every enemy, at least on some of the later stages. There's like kind of this blue devil ghoul gargoyle looking character that you can't seem to kill with your little like flamethrower blast that you can shoot out when you have either a cross or on some of the stages you have to collect like 4 books. And the kind of twist on Pac-Man is, number one, you actually have to collect either one of those books, or actually there's no pellets to collect on the book stages, or at least not that I've seen, but on the stages where you're just trying to like collect all the pellets on the board, the first kind of every stage seems like it has like 2 waves. Like you have the cross crucifix stage where you have to collect those and collect all the pellets, and then the second stage is like collect these 4 pieces of a book and bring them back to like the center location so that you can kind of complete this room. Then you get like a little bonus challenge after that. But I've really been having fun. Like the main thing, like, again, the difference between Pac-Man is like you have to actually collect, like the cross is almost like acting as your like power pellet or magic pellet, whatever those are called in Pac-Man, where it turns it into the mode where you can eat the ghosts. This essentially is doing that, except you have to collect the cross to be able to eat the pellets and whatnot. And you have to actually like, at first, I was kind of thinking you could just roam around and keep like grabbing crosses and it would reset the timer or restart it for how long you have, like almost like getting another star in Mario or whatever, and it kind of restarts the timer. And that's actually not the case on this. You kind of have to wait for it to run out and then grab a new one. And then the other twist is that the screen, it's kind of like single screen Pac-Man style. Like you can see the whole map, but it also, like it's screen wrapping at the same time, and then it's also like moving almost like an elevator. Like the playable area keeps like shifting either up, down, left, or right, and you kind of have like an arrow on the top of the screen. There's almost like arcade like borders on the side of the screen, if you will, and the top and bottom even, and they're like chains, and there's kind of like little extra demons that are like pulling the chains around and moving the board and whatnot. And it just adds like a nice little extra twist because you can actually get smushed between the walls on top of, so you're kind of like getting in little moments where you're kind of in a pinch, like, I think I can make it to that cross and back, and inevitably end up getting smushed. But I'm really, really having a good time with this one. It's one that I've never played much of other than like maybe firing it up on an emulator real quick just because I was like, oh, it's a Miyamoto game and I've never played it before. But now that it's sitting here on my Switch, I'm like, this is something I could definitely see myself firing up from time to time. And then another game that they added was called, I'm probably going to butcher this pronunciation, but it's called The Mysterious Murasame Castle. and it's like kind of like a top-down Zelda style game almost, but it's like way more kind of arena, almost like not quite bullet hell, but it's basically like a top down, again, Zelda style, combat or whatever. But you do have a little bit of like some of those like NES games. I'm drawing a blank on some of the names of them, but where you're kind of like a top down on the ground run and gun shooter. But it's kind of like a shmup, if you will, or a bullet hell situation. Maybe not quite bullet hell for some of these NES games, but like with how many ninjas and whatnot are popping out of the bushes and on various like screens of this game, it does kind of feel a little bit like a bullet hell because I'm just like button mashing like crazy. And this is a game that I believe came out on the Famicom disk system because it has like the square box art and it has like the little like, I don't know what that little like yellow character they have. I love that little character that they have. And like, at least it's on the Versus Excite Bike box art as well, which I actually fired a little bit of that up as well. Another game that like my cousin had growing up, not Versus Excite Bike, but just regular Excite Bike. And I was like, I never really actually got good at this game because I would only ever play it. Same with Pac-Man even, because I would just play it at his house and he would be so much better than me in like the way those 2-player games work. I actually can't remember how Excite Bike works, but with Pac-Man, it's just kind of like wait your turn until the other player dies. And then once my cousin would die after like 10 stages of Pac-Man, I'd get one turn die on like the first or second stage and then just watch him play for a bunch more. So never really got better at any of these games. And then, firing up Versus Excite Bike and kind of figuring out. And I think I even talked about Excite Bike 64 a while back, or I know I did. And like kind of that angle. It's interesting how they really kind of like recreated that gameplay in 3D, and it's way more in depth than in Excite Bike 64. I was going to say in Excite Bike 3D, but with Versus Excite Bike or just regular Excite Bike, it's really kind of fun. Like now that I know you got to like kind of angle backwards where you're going up those ramps, I always just never understood like how are you supposed to get more speed or momentum or whatever. But back to the mysterious Murasame castle. As I get sidetracked here, I just really, really am having a blast like exploring this game, and especially because it does have those save states. It does have save, functionality, being that it was a Famicom disk system game as well, and it was released in 1986, so it definitely has some like retro jank, but like back to the shoot 'em up style, you're like picking up different power ups, even getting like a spread shot. You do also have like melee attacks. You can like ricochet the different like shurikens and various projectiles that enemies throw at you. You can either like swipe them away with your sword or just like fling them back depending on what the projectile is. Although I don't know if they do damage to the enemies actually now that I think about it. But you can also turn invincible a certain number of times like per life. I don't know if you can collect more of those, and you just have to like kind of kill enemies, and every now and then they drop. I thought it was a currency, but it's actually kind of like more Castlevania style, like you're getting refilling your ammo and whatnot. And I don't know, I'm just really kind of having fun. I've already played like a half hour of this game, got to like the second stage, I think, maybe the third stage even. But I don't know why I'm having a lot of fun with this one, and just like a game that I never even knew existed. So I really do love that they're kind of leaning into some of these more import, like weird one-off, or I guess a lot of games are one-off releases. But I've just been a big fan of the way they've been after kind of a slow period after that first like wave of games they released. I feel like I'd love to see more. There's definitely some classics that are missing on the platform that I'd love to see. But at the same time, it's really cool to be able to just fire these up and play them whenever I feel like it. And I actually did play a little bit of that Ninja Jaja Maru-kun. I know I'm butchering the pronunciation of that as well. But that's one that I know got a remake or kind of like a reimagining, or a new entry in the series, I guess. And it's published by the same folks that published the Pocky and Rocky and the Wild Guns and the Ninja Saviors games that Randall and I are huge, huge fans of. I don't think it's developed by the same team, but I've been tempted to pick that one up a few times. So when I saw that they added like a new kind of special version of this game, I decided to fire it up again. I've played it one or two other times, and it is another one where I'm just like, this one feels a little bit too retro janky to me, and I'm not captivated enough by the gameplay, but I wonder if this new like kind of modernized version of the game or series or whatever would maybe be speaking my language, because it's pretty much like a scrolling, essentially single screen, but there's a little bit of scrolling going on, arcade platformer that is otherwise should be right up my alley. And then kind of in the same vein as the mysterious Murasame Castle, to just keep saying that wrong, probably. I've also been playing a little bit of a Xeno Crisis, which I recently picked up on Switch. It's normally a $20 game, and it was on sale for $5. So I was like, I played a little bit of this on Game Pass, and I maybe mentioned it briefly on the podcast before, but I don't think so. I think I actually just kind of like played a little bit of this on Game Pass and maybe just talked about it to Randall or something. But I know he mentioned he actually has it on Genesis and on Dreamcast. I don't think I realized that it was a homebrew game. I definitely didn't know there was a Dreamcast version, but it definitely has some of that Sega energy, but it really has some like, I'd really like to see it on some of those retro platforms, because to me, I really love the pixel art. It to me almost looks 32-bit, which I guess they could kind of pull off on the Dreamcast potentially, but not so much on the Genesis. But yeah, I'm really having a pretty good time with this one. I do wish that it had a little more of like a roguelike quality to it. It does have a little bit of procedural generation to the level design, but essentially it's like a top-down arena shooter, octo-directional shooting, and you're just kind of running through the rooms and mowing down enemies. It does have 2-player couch co-op, which is something that I would really, really be into. But like at the end of each stage, you actually just get to use some of the currency or like the dog tags you collect, and you can purchase new upgrades for your character, like new, upgrade your speed, upgrade your power. There's limitations on each bar for the 2 different characters that you can pick, but it just kind of feels a little bit like it would be a little more interesting if you were leaning into different buffs or power-ups. But I do kind of like, on the other hand, that it does have a little bit of a campaign flavor to it as well. It's a game that I know that if like Randall and I lived in the same state, unfortunately this one doesn't have online co-op, but if we live close by, I could definitely see us like getting together and ripping through this one. It would have been something that we would have played in the old days. We're just like, got to beat a game every time we hang out, and this would have been perfect for that, especially firing it up on one of his retro versions. But yeah, I think I've done enough rambling here for the intro, so I think I'll kick things over to John, Randall, and I for some more rambling and whatnot after this. But yeah, thanks for tuning in, and until next week, we'll catch you next time, and take care. Do you need to feed Reg, John?
No, I just need her to lie down. The second she gets comfy on my lap, it'll be fine. But for whatever reason, she's just sitting upright and putting her face on every surface.
Do you guys have Mario Wonder pre-ordered? I'm assuming Randall does. I know Randall does, actually. We talked about that. Yeah. Do you, John? I'm guessing
I do not.
Are you planning on snagging, or not sure yet?
I don't know. I've got enough stuff in my queue that I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm asking for like Pikmin 4 before I even get like into that headspace.
Yeah.
So got a lot on that I'm like looking forward to. That's in my mental queue that I haven't even purchased yet. So
yeah, no, I know what you mean.
Oh, yeah.
I'm kind of looking forward to it hopefully being like a little bit of a jolt. Like, I feel like I haven't gotten back into my gaming groove since starting this new job. Like, I've just been kind of, I got pretty into Pikmin, but I haven't really picked it back up since like getting full tilt into the job either.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm just like, I don't know. I feel like this is going to be the game, because Mario games, for whatever reason, I'm just like, boom, here we go. I got to play this start to finish and do everything in it not as fast as I can, because I try to savor it a little, but.
Ooh, the review scores are looking pretty good. I just poked my head in there to see if any had dropped, and a lot have dropped because the game comes out in 2 days.
I know. I'm like, half of me
What
is
the
like,
heck?
Sometimes like they come a day early or something if they're Amazon pre-orders or whatever.
Holy moly.
So I'm like, oh, maybe. But that's good to hear that they're looking good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wouldn't have expected myself to be as excited as I am, which I would say I'm only like mildly. I'm not like sitting here like going nuts about it, but I know I'm going to enjoy the game. And it's just like, I don't know. I'm just pretty pumped, but I wasn't expecting, like, I think I've even said before that I was like, if they make another new Super Mario Brothers game, I don't really care. And not that it is technically in that series. I don't think it has like the new in the title
No,
anywhere.
I don't think so.
But it pretty much looks like
isn't it the same art style?
Updated version. Yeah, it pretty much.
Kinda.
It looks like they've updated it a little bit,
right?
But yeah, it's the same kind of core look and feel to it. But I don't know if the gameplay will feel the same. I know for the most part, the new Super Mario Brothers games went for that like more original Super Mario Brothers feel to the weightiness and like momentum.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see if this one feels that way too. It kind of looked like it did from what I saw, but I don't know. It's hard to tell from a couple short clips. I tried to watch as little as possible because I knew I wanted it. So
mm-hmm.
Yep.
Because, yeah, I think we talked about this briefly before, but yeah, they did that whole like Mario Wonder Direct, and I was like, yeah, no thanks.
Absolutely not.
Like,
no need.
I'm already like a little bummed that I know that there's an elephant power up.
Yep.
You know? That would have been such a cool. That would have been such a cool surprise, you know. But whatever. What can you do?
Yeah, it's good timing too. I know Fiona's been super into the Mario movie. She wants to watch that most days just because you know it's a kids movie ultimately. So yeah. It's good timing. She's very Mario centric. She has a Kirby backpack, so she's very much just tripling down on all of that sort of stuff. So
hell yeah,
making sure she's the coolest kid in school.
Yeah, there's a ton of kids with like Pokemon backpacks. I wish they had Pikmin backpacks. No, like
hey, Pokemon's still cool.
Oh yeah, there's tons of that. Couple of Marios, but yeah, a lot of Pokemon for sure.
That's cool. Yeah. I'm glad she's all into that stuff. My brother just watched that Mario movie the other day and texted me like, "Oh, you got to watch it, man." He was like, "It's a good time."
Yeah, so. It's fine. It's fine. You will know all of the references, and that is something.
Yep.
Yeah, I feel like it's definitely going for that like Lego movie approach, you know, just like throw a bunch of stuff at the wall, throw a bunch of pop culture references, or in this case, Mario references,
which is
or whatever.
Most movies are pretty much of that formula, one way or the other, at this point. Yeah.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, everything's like that. The other day, I saw what movie were they remaking again, and I was like, they're making this again, like a third time. Like, what the hell was it? Oh my god, it was some. I'm not going to remember it right now because all I can think of now
Spider-Man. That's probably been already more than 3 times.
They've done that series 3 times and now I've like just expanded upon that. But shoot, I can't think of what it is though. But I was just like, what? Willy Wonka. They're making another Willy Wonka movie.
Sure.
With Timothée Chalamet, and I was like, yeah, I mean, I'm sure he'll be a good Willy Wonka.
Johnny Depp again, basically. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. Pretty much.
Yeah. It's just like
I get
just it. So dumb.
Yeah.
Like make something
no
fresh.
original ideas. Yep.
I know. Like I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah.
Marketing rules the land. If you want it to be greenlit, it has to be an IP known by people, regardless of if they have a connotation, with movies of it or not. It's, they're aware of it, therefore greenlight it.
Yeah, I totally forgot. I can't remember where I saw this come up the other day, but like I totally forgot that they made that. I think it was a TV show. It might have been a movie, but I think it was a TV show, and I think it might even still be going somehow. But they made that Twisted Metal show.
Oh yeah,
you guys remember
that was the thing?
And I think
either
it was just somebody randomly like booting it up and watching it, or maybe they like brought it back for another season or something. But I was just like, oh my god, they made that. They spent think about how much money got spent and time dedicated to making a Twisted Metal television program. Like, that's just insane to me.
So I feel like I do have to say that every anime live action adaptation has been an absolute shit show.
Sure.
And just like the worst possible thing. The One Piece live action anime is surprisingly like decent.
I was when I first saw like a screenshot from that, I was like, "There's no way John's gonna watch this."
I wasn't going to. I legitimately was not going to. I've been burned too many times.
Oh yeah,
I've seen a terrible anime adaptation enough times to be like, I'm not even gonna look at this. But I had enough people tell me that I was like, hey, why don't you give it a shot? Like, you really like the thing, and I will say if a person who will never watch anime watches that and is like, this is the only thing I'm going to watch of the series, I'll still be like, you watched the worst version of it. But at the same time, I'm like, you didn't get a bad version of it.
That's saying something.
Nice.
Yeah,
I was saying something.
At least it's an enjoyable watch for someone who's already a fan of the series or whatever.
And it is so simplified because they're trying to do so much in such a short period of time, and some of the acting or moments are really, really bad, but It is surprising how like straightforward and likable every character is, and like how they hit like the main beats of every story. And it was like, yeah, that was it. Like that's all you kind of needed to do. You said the thing and you stepped away as soon as like you needed to, and all right, that's as much as I can ask.
So they didn't water it down too badly that way then for live adaptation anyway.
And like the guy that they got to play Luffy is the most charismatic, like puppy of a human being. And I'm like, yep, that's it. You got you did the absolute perfect casting for the protagonist, and there's no notes on that. That's really all you need to do is just cast talented, like likable people and have them say the lines as written, and you're kind of done. Call it a day.
Gives it a different spice.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah, so like
good deal. Yeah,
I've been in the adaptive mood, or like looking into adaptations of things and enjoying them for what they are, and not necessarily for what, like thinking, oh, is this going to be the like canonical version of a thing? It's just like, that's an interesting take.
Yeah. It's almost never going to be the canonical version. Like,
absolutely.
There's very few examples of that, I feel like, anyway.
Yeah. And even if it is for now, it might not be forever, you know?
Right. And every medium does a different thing. Like,
yes.
I was specifically thinking of like a movie adaptation of something, and I can't remember exactly what. I don't know. We've been watching like all the Pride and Prejudice versions.
Nice.
And, like the mini series, I think is the best version. I mean,
and I did get around to watching that.
The PBS,
you did?
PBS one or whatever.
What did you think?
Yeah, it's good. It's good. At the end of like, wait, I thought like Mr. Billingsley was going to be like an asshole and leave everybody high and dry, but it was a happy ending.
Yeah.
And Tina's like, yeah, things can have happy endings sometimes. Like, oh, really? What do you mean?
Yeah.
Not in the media I consume.
Yeah.
There's always a double or triple cross that happens or something, right? And there's got to be some sort of like trauma and sadness built in, and somebody getting screwed over at least.
Well, there is for Kitty. Let's not gloss over the fact that she kind of ends up with a sexual predator as a husband.
Yeah, but he's rich.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's gross, but he has a lot of money.
Oh, man. Hey, that's life, I guess, man.
Yep. And she seems blissfully unaware, so whatever.
Yeah.
It worked out, I guess. It
was
good, though. I liked it. It was, and it was like the perfect length, like 6 episodes or whatever of, like, it was good. I'm very impressed.
That's a great length for a mini series is my ideal, because it's a little bit longer than a movie. You let things breathe and characters develop, but it's not like 3 seasons of a thing.
Yeah,
I can take 3 seasons, but sometimes it's just drawn out for the sake of it, and that's not necessary either. One of the best Marios, as we all know.
Yep. It's up there as my number 1, to be honest. Like either that or Galaxy. Like it's between those two for sure.
What about Mario World?
I don't know which one. I'm talking 3D Mario.
Oh, okay.
I thought we were talking. I thought it's just like totally separate. Yeah, 3D and 2D Mario are two totally separate genres, as we also know.
Yeah, that is kind of fair. Yeah.
Yeah, not actually, but I mean, I just feel like they're so
very
many
different.
Yeah, and it's like I can't just have one favorite Mario game, so that's like a cheap way to have at least 2 favorite Mario games.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it would be a pretty hard coin toss for me between Galaxy and 3D Land. I don't know which one. I agree
Galaxy
with that. Was a little more memorable. of like a first experience anyways. Like I really loved, I know not everyone loves that hub overworld situation, but
yeah,
that took me right back to like the Mario 64 days and all the best ways.
Sure.
And I loved that experience, but I'm usually someone that kind of leans more towards the other, like, oh, just pick a level and dive in, and that's more my style. But when they went for that with 2, I was kind of like, it just doesn't feel as cool when you're just like a floating Mario head going around, you know.
Yeah,
felt
map
cooler
had
in Odyssey,
something
at least.
like to leave left to be desired. Like,
yeah, and they basically, they like basically did the same thing with the 3D Land games, or at least. Yeah, because 3D World kind of had more of like a 2D top-down kind of style map, if I recall correctly.
Yeah,
but 3D
but it was linear.
3D Land was just kind of like straight up, you're just going level to level, and there'd just be like a diorama like spinning in the background 3D style, like with a few things that were in the level in the background kind of get. I didn't mind that at all, but for whatever reason, playing it on.
But I also didn't mind it in 3D World. Like 3D World, I liked that overworld map.
I like that
more
system
than
too.
Galaxy 2. Like,
yeah, it just felt like a step backwards for whatever reason from Galaxy to Galaxy 2.
Because like New Super Mario Bros. Had the same thing. Like it was the Mario 3 map, like overworld. Level select.
And they really, I feel like they kind of went all out with that new Super Mario Brothers U version. I feel like that was like the coolest overworld map. Like that kind of took me back to like Super Mario World playing that game. I didn't like the game as much as some of the other new Super Mario Brothers games, but I'm curious how this Super Mario Wonder is going to stack up. Coming in the mail on Friday, so.
Yeah, I've not played a new Super Mario Bros. In that series, as you would say. Okay.
Oh, really? You've never played any of those?
Just the one. Just the very first one. And then I never played any of the sequels. So, like, I'd be interested.
I thought U was really good. I think, to me, of those, I'd probably put, of the new Super Mario Brothers games, I'd probably say U is my favorite and 2 is my least favorite.
I would agree with 2 is my least favorite. I would just say that Wii is actually my favorite.
Wii's really good.
For whatever reason.
Yeah.
I love
Wii's
that penguin suit, and I think they use it as well in other games after that too. But the thing that I liked about the Wii one the most is I just feel like they did the best job of like, at least for me, like going for that extra challenge with a Mario game. Because like if you're just coasting through the levels, it's a little bit easier. But I thought like the 3 coins on every stage were just like, those were such a fun challenge to go after. And I don't know, that was just like, in all the other ones, I felt like they were more like, they just they're hidden in invisible walls and a little more like.
I was going to say, I thought that was like the prime example of your complaint for like collectibles.
This was just, no, I love when it's just like, here's just a more challenging, but these were, in Mario, in the Wii version, at least what I remember, there's like one specific one that I remember that was like, on this ice level where you had to like slide as Penguin Mario and like get on that lower layer before they started melt. There was like a fire hammer bro or something like that was like throwing and melting some of the tiles. So you had to like get there before. And like, I don't know, it felt like there were more of them that were placed where it's like, I can see it and I know what I need to do. I just need to execute. Whereas like in some of the later ones, it's just like, slide against every single wall in the ghost house until you find the invisible, it's just kind of annoying, but
Yoshi's Island style.
Reed just keeps moving my microphone away from. Oh my god! What a
Philbin.
You got a Game Boy sweater on. Look at that. That's
I'm rocking it. I know. I was feeling a little chilly, and I was like, you know what? Rocking the hoodie open zipped is not doing it for me. And I just kind of don't like the feeling of a hoodie zipped up. So I was like, I got to wear the pullover.
Yeah.